Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we are going to be doing a deck profile of my Sphinx deck. This is a deck that I've profiled multiple times on this channel throughout the years. It's a fun deck. It's not a competitively viable deck, but you know, it's one of those type of decks where you can take it against your buddies. You can go to locals to have some fun, and you will win some games, but it's just, you know, one of those type of decks. It's a fun deck, quote unquote. But it's a really fun deck to play, guys. Like, you can easily win games in some regards. Your opponent will slip up. You'll win games with this deck, and it's just one of those type of decks that's just very nostalgic. You know, to sit back, talk about some old school Yu-Gi-Oh cards, the original Yu-Gi-Oh movie, things of that nature. So, without further ado, guys, let us get into the deck profile. So first off, we run one Thinian, the Great Sphinx. You're not going to bring Thinian out a lot. You can bring him out fairly regularly, I will say that. He does take setup to get out, and he is a Garnet, where he can become dead in hand because his requirements to get out. To bring him out, you have to destroy Andros Sphinx and Sphinx Talea at the same exact time while they're on the field. Now, you can do that in this deck. There are cards that will allow you to do that. Is it going neg in some regards to bring out a big bad boy like this? Yeah. But is it cool and fun and awesome? Yes. Yes, it is. So, saying that, you can do it. And in certain situations, it'll actually be beneficial if you're trying to do some board clearing, etc. But we'll talk more about those cards in a bit. But one, Thinian, the Great Sphinx, definitely a staple. One of in this deck. You don't have to run it if you don't want to, but you can bring it out fairly regularly, even though you're going neg. Next, we run 3 Andros Sphinx, which is pretty good, and also 3 Sphinx Talea. I'm going to be honest with you guys, these are going to be your main cards that you're going to be running. These are your real boss monsters of the deck that will be putting in work for you. So what do they have that's beneficial, actually? You know, these cards are a little bit slow. You know, you get them out to the field in certain, you know, using Pyramid of Light most of the time. They can be a little slow because they kind of have like, they can't attack the turn they're summoned. But they do have some benefits. Number 1, they are level 10s. That's important to keep in mind. Number 2, they have big attack and big defense. Andros has 3,000 attack. That's even respectable by today's standards. Talea has 3,000 defense. That's pretty respectable even for today's standards, and has decent attack at 2,500. So that's the number 2 thing. The third thing is their light attribute. You may say, why is that important? Well, you'll see later on in the deck profile why the light attribute for these cards is important. Being level 10 is also important because it helps go into the Train Exceed package, as well as being able to be protected through Mound of the Bound Creator, which we use for Egyptian gods. So you get why they do have benefits in their own way. So 3 of each we definitely run in the deck. Next we run 3 Apprentice Piper. This is the card that made me want to build this deck when I saw this card come out, because of the viability it has with the Andros, the Sphinx engine. So why is Apprentice Piper so good in this deck? Why is he so useful? Well, first off, he's a dark attribute, which, as you see in this deck, as you go through it, you'll see a light and dark, you know, different attributes of mainly light and dark, which means you can run things like BLS, you can run a little bit of a chaos package. But on top of that, this card's perfectly made for this deck because of his effect. So pretty much what Apprentice Piper does is, he's a flip monster. Oh my gosh, 2021, flip monster effects are no good. I agree, but this one's pretty decent for this deck. So what happens is Apprentice Piper, if you set it and it's destroyed, you get to special summon out a monster from your hand. Okay? So I could bring out an Andros Sphinx from my hand. Say this gets destroyed, right? Okay, well, let's say my opponent just attacks it, right? So they attack it, I flip it up, right? Okay, that's one special summon from my hand. It gets destroyed and sent to graveyard, right? That's a second special summon from my hand. Okay, I did this on my opponent's turn, so I don't need to worry about, you know, the clause that says you can't attack the turn these cards are summoned, pretty much. So what does that mean for you guys? That means when it comes back to your turn, aha, you can do stuff with them. So that's why Apprentice Piper is so good. Dark attribute, easily can bring out things from your hand. you know, like Andros and Athenian, which is really awesome. So it can bring these bad boys out fairly easily. So that's why it's really good in the deck. It's so easy and abusable in this deck for bringing them out on your opponent's turn, so you don't have to worry about their negative drawbacks, so to speak. So staple 3 of, in my opinion, in this deck. Next up, we run the Clown Engine, which we'll talk about here in a second. We run 3 Performer Page Damage Juggler, 2 Hat Tricker, and 1 Trick Clown. Now you may say, why are we running this engine? Well, this is just a good generic rank 4 engine that can really help the deck out overall. Damage Juggler is a light attribute that does come into play a little bit, not a lot, but it does come into play. So to keep this in mind, this is just a good rank 4 engine to run in the deck, so you can be able to go for rank 4s, have a little bit more versatility, maybe go for some basic rank 2 plays. You get the gist, hopefully, of what I'm trying to say here. Is this is just a good generic package, in quotations, to run in the deck to help it out with certain things. So I definitely like it in the deck. It's really useful. You can use Damage Juggler as a hand trap in some regards. You know, if you're trying to protect your life points. It can also be used as rank 4 fodder. Overall, it works out very, very, very well, guys, I find, overall. And I definitely like this package in the deck at the end of the day. Really has helped out with the deck. You can, and in addition to that rank 4 package, we also run 2 Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk could easily set up for things in the graveyard, which you'll see with the light and dark for like a BLS play if you wanted to. But mainly it's going to be in here for a rank 4 package because you can go Summoner Monk, bring out maybe a Trick Clown, Exceed into something basic, go off from there, maybe go for a basic Link play if you need to. You get the gist, because Summoner Monk works well in this deck because you will sometimes have some dead spell cards in your deck, which may not be at the time be very useful, so you can pitch them and then get their Summoner Monk's effect off. So it's really good in that regard. I like it. It's also a dark attribute, which I was saying earlier, helps to fulfill the requirements for your light and darks for your BLS. I wouldn't run BLS as a 3 of in this deck. It gets kind of bricky as a 3 of overall, but as a 2 of it's really good, and it's another boss monster for the deck because of the ease that you have a lot of light and darks in the deck. Like, not include, I mean, darks, lights, I mean, there's a good majority here, as you'll see here in a bit, and there's even, you know, all the Athenians and Sphinxes are light attributes, so, I mean, why not? It's very easy to get set up. I would not run it more than a 2 of because it can get bricky. I know Clever Chaos Levineer Dragon, you could run that, but I find the BLS, it's nostalgic, but it's also a little bit better in this deck because you can run it with things like, we're going to see here in a second, Honest, which there's some crazy little combos you can do with that. So next up we run 3 Honest. A majority of your deck is going to be light attribute. Your big bad boys are light attribute. So your boss monsters of your main deck are all light attribute, right? So, you know, your Athenian and your Andros, your Andros and Talea are light attribute. Your BLS are light attribute. And there's some cool little shenanigans you can do with Honest and BLS. Like some really cool shenanigans where you can just do crazy stuff that is really awesome. But, you know, these are pretty much your boss monsters for your main deck, and Honest works perfectly well with them because these are going to be out on your board, you know, pretty much every duel, every, you know, while, and they're going to become your big beaters of the deck. On top of that, you have some extra deck cards, that are light attribute as well, which Honest does work with. So, overall, at the end of the day, I decided to run 3 Honest. Some people do not. Some people like running Ash, but it's the battle trap stuff is really cool because people do not expect it nowadays to run into an Honest, and when they do, you know, you can use it offensive and defensively in some regards. So I'm just going to say from playtesting, it's been working out pretty well. So that's all I'll say about that. Next we run Triple Monster Gate. This is another way of bringing out, guys, your Sphinx Talea and your Andros Sphinx as well. This is just another way of easily bringing them out into the field. Some people do not like the Monster Gate engine in the deck, and I agree with that. If you're going to not run Monster Gate, I'd run 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs. That's up to you to decide how you want to proceed forward with the deck, but Monster Gate works very well with these bad boys overall, and it can sit up in graveyard for light and darks as well. So, you know, you got your pros and your cons, right? So it's up to you to decide. If you're not going to run it, I'd run Ash Blossom, but that's up to you. Next to run, guys, triple Mound of the Bound Creator and 1 Terraforming. Mound of the Bound, if it becomes dead, you can pitch it with the Summoner Monk, which we were talking about earlier. But also it's going to help protect your big bad boys, you know, your Sphinx Talea, your Andros Sphinx, and your Thinian even. So it's going to protect your big bad boys of the deck, which is really awesome because these guys are, you know, can be protected through Mound of the Bound Creator, and it's easy to get this card set up. Now, we're not running, you know, any Egyptian God cards, but if you wanted to throw in a Raw Sphere mode just in case, hey, be my guest. Like, if it works for you, it works for you. But this is in here to give protection to your bad boys overall, and it's been working fine. If any of them become dead, you can pitch them with Summoner Monk. Next up, we run some one-ofs. We run 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Call by the Grave, 1 Dark Hole, 1 Upstart Goblin, 1 Monster Reborn. There's a lot of one-off spells here, so let's go over this. Foolish Burial is for your Clown engine, so you can set things up in grave. Maybe if you want to, you have a BLS in hand, you can just send a light or a dark to grave to set that up as well. Call by the Grave will protect us from hand traps. If it's at multiple, I would maybe cut some cards to run multiple. Dark Hole is to help set up for your Thinian guys, which people don't understand why I'm running Dark Hole. And this is a way to set up for your Thinian, because if you have Sphinx Talea and Andros Sphinx on the field, well, you can destroy both of them at the same exact time. Remember what we were talking about earlier? At the same exact time, guys, to bring out your Thinian. So that's what Dark Hole is in here for. It's one of those ways of being able to do that. You don't have to run it, but it works okay. Upstart Goblin makes it a 39 card deck. We don't care about giving life points because we can bring out big beaters that can put in a lot of work. And it makes it gives me a little bit of draw power. And Monster Reborn, we do have things that will be engraved. Our opponent will have things engraved. We can bring it back and abuse it. So overall, that's pretty good in my book for our one-of spells. Onto our traps, which we run a couple traps. We run double Pyramid of Light. I do not like running triple. Triple Pyramid of Light gets bricky, guys. I'm being honest with you. You have a multitude of different ways, as we've talked to about, you know, bringing out your, you know, Talea and your Andros. So I only find that 2 Pyramid of Light is necessary in the deck. I would not run it as a triple. Triple is too many. I'm being honest. Next up, guys, we run some other trap cards. We run double Torrential Tribute. Again, you may say, why are you running Torrential Tribute? Why are you running TT? Well, again, this is another type of thing where if you have your Andros and your Talea on the field, you can TT the board. You're going to clear your opponent's board. You're going to clear your board of these two, and then you can bring out your Thinian. This is another way of bringing out Thinian, guys. That's all it is. So, and it's good just for board clearance, etc. So, because this deck, you know, it slow balls sometimes, so you need a way to kind of get rid of your opponent's board. So that's why you see things like TT. That's why you see things like Dark Hole. Maybe instead of, you know, Lightning Storm or Regeki, I'm running Dark Hole because that destroys my monsters to get out Thinian. That's why. Next up, we run Skill Drain. This will help negate your negative effects of your Andros and Talea, as well as hurting your opponent a lot more than it will hurt you. So you can bring out your big beat sticks, negate your opponent's stuff, and just crush them. So that works out pretty well. I like the 1 Skill Drain in the deck. It's definitely mandatory in my opinion, because you get to negate their negative effects and just they become beat sticks. So that is it for the main deck, guys. Let's get on to the extra deck now. We run our Dark Magician Field Center, Dark Magician Girl. For your rank 4s, we're running Bagasucha, number 41, Tornado Dragon for back row stuff, Castel for dealing with things, and Exoton Knight for blowing up the board if all else fails. We also run number Divine Arsenal AA Zeus the Sky Thunder. Yes, and it's an expensive card, but if you got it, guys, run it because you'll need it in this deck. I'm being honest. Next, we run Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. This is for doing big damage. We run, like I said, we run the Train Engine, number 81, Dora the Explorer. We run 2 of her. We also run Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Libby as a 2 of in the deck. It's very easy to get 2 level 10s out in the field, guys, so you can easily go for this train package fairly often. Then we run the Spider Engine, which is number 34, and number 77, the 7 Sins. We also run some basic links, so Nightmare Cerberus, Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Unicorn. You can run other things if you want to. I will be 100% honest. I would not suggest, if you wanted to run Blackluster Soldier of Chaos, maybe you could run that if you wanted to. But the problem is, I will be honest with you guys, you're not going to go for a lot of Link 4s per se in this deck, because I just found myself from playtesting, I'm not going to go into rank 4s. I'll go into basic rank 2s and maybe the occasional rank 3, which does come up sometimes. But for the most part, you're never going to go into rank 4s. I'm being honest. That's why you see me focusing more on the rank 4 package and the rank 10 package, because that's a lot more common. So it's up to you to decide how you want to construct the deck, guys. But hopefully this was helpful in your construction of how you want to build your deck. I really like this deck. This deck is so fun to freaking play. And it's just one of those, fun type of decks to play, guys. Against your buddies and have a lot of fun. And it will catch them off guard. It will definitely do that. But till next time, guys, take care. Have fun dueling. Good luck dueling. If you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more awesome videos. And I'll see you guys next time. Good luck dueling to all of you. Take care, everybody.